Yo! Yo! How we doing? Previously on Kimba TV. So I would probably prefer to like attempt a long probably, but the only reason is because the invalidation is so tight. Well, if we hold 45 as support, then the full rotation will be to 48. If this is a failed auction and we start to close below 45, then it's a high probability we rotate all the way to the bottom side around 39. Lions, how we doing? Are we juicing? Hey! Hey! How we doing? Y'all know what it is. We're back in retail arena. Yo, let's go. Let's go. What did we say yesterday? If you lose 45, full rotation. Oh my God. How quick was that? 1, 2, 3. Wow, in an hour and a half it did the full rotation. Lord have mercy, ladies and gentlemen. Do you believe? It was that simple, y'all. And on top of that, we already talked about the failed auction. No surprises. No surprises. I actually made $4,000 on that little thang long. I mean, I can't believe it fully rotated in an hour and a half. That's nuts. But Bugatti. God damn, y'all. Let's get after it again, ladies and gentlemen. The math is the math. But you see how as soon as it lost 45, it just went. I do believe the actual technical terminology that we used was, we said if you lose 45, and it, yeah. Hopefully nobody got too smacked. Everybody Gucci? Nixo says, I didn't expect that much of a move, but let's get it. The move was going to be a full rotation. We talked about it. We talked about how you're going to rotate all the way back probably to like the 40s to the other side of the value area. So, yeah, for it to have done it in an hour and a half, pretty surprising. But the fact that it went down here, not surprising, right? So... Kazaki says, bro, it happened like you called it, lost 45K and then max dump. Yeah, it was, I'll be honest, the fact that it did it in an hour and a half is crazy. Not gonna lie. I wouldn't have expected that either, but for it to rotate down to the other side of retail arena, not that surprising. So that's basically a failed auction for you. We've played these a couple of times, so, pretty cool, right, Kazaki? But, I mean, we kept it real simple. I said, dude, it's either going to hold 45 as support or it's not. And if you lose 45, then it's going to... And it did just that. Bugatti! Mario Fibonacci, CME didn't even close the lower gap. Yeah, but remember what we were talking about. Isn't this crazy? Look at what it's doing. That was the gap, candle body close, pixeling the top. So is this the first time you've ever played two gaps right on top of each other? Because it's actually doing exactly what it's supposed to. So if you can't remember, definitely, take notes on what it's going to do right here between these two zones. Yeah. And hopefully you guys can identify, is that Gucci or no? Is that Gucci or no? Kind of looks like a no. Chauncey, what's going on? Tranquilo, what's going on? Feelgut says, I smell there will be some fibception today. I like we might do a fibception, but we're back in retail arena. You know what I mean? So either you have that failed auction short, or somehow, some way you caught that bottom. That was like a moving average, though. But we're back in retail arena, so we got to wait for a little bit more data and gain the edge. And once we get a little bit more time, a little bit more data, we're going to be able to either bet that way or that way. Proc 1, 45K bearish retest. Yeah, it's possible. There's imbalances there. So I would actually prefer it to go down. Yeah, I would actually prefer it to go down, but could it tap those imbalances before going back down? Yeah. Yeah, you know me. I don't like playing in retail arena. So you had an opportunity to short. I don't know how many goddamn times we talked about a failed auction possibly coming up or a sweep of that level coming up, right? So you're either in a short from the 45.8 or the 45.5, 45.6 failed auction. Or you're, in some sort of like sweep long, but I'm not really too interested in playing literally the middle of retail arena. You heard? Let's see. Always long says I see a big gamma down at 46.55 on SPX, and there are some untapped POCs down at 38, 39K levels, and I'm interested in longing. Yeah, that's kind of like where I am as well. Yeah, I would prefer it to come down lower. That would be easier to trade than trying to finagle bearish retest. Is 35K still on the table? Abso-fucking-lutely. Yep. We just got to take it level by level. You lose that range. So let me put it this way. You lose this range. Oh, snap, dizzle for shizzle. If you lose this range, then yeah, you're coming back down to this range. There's nothing here. So losing that would immediately teleport you back to here. And you're going to be fucking around here. Yes. Yeah, anything is possible. We just got to play it level by level. Mustang Jesus says, it was fast, but we all should have been prepared. That is absolutely correct, Mustang Jesus. Yeah, there really was no longs to be had after, like, you either was betting on 45 holding a support or it was going to turn into resistance. That's really it. All right, I think we're in exclusivity mode. Okay, cool. So let me load up a couple things. First things first, ETH BTC. Yeah. It almost might be time. Look at DOT. Look at DOT BTC. Okay, like we said, we're almost getting ready to, get into these things. So this ETH BTC is actually going quite well. You already know what I'm waiting for, so that's good. We just got to wait and be patient. The same with this. Patience pays. Look at that. But a little bit more. Come on. I'm ready, though. Bugats. Yeah. Makine says, can you explain your strategy and how you enter in positions, what setup you like? Identify levels of interest. So usually they're going to be TPO and volume levels. And then read the data properly when we get to those levels. Is it bullish or is it bearish? That's it, Makine. It's pretty straightforward. So identify levels of interest, be patient. And as we approach those levels, you look at the data that's in front of you and you interpret if it's bullish or bearish. That's it. And then sometimes we'll anticipate or we might front run. And sometimes we might add in confluence with traditional markets. But if you keep watching Makine, you'll pick up on it. It's dead ass simple, brother. Even yesterday, man. If you were here and if you were paying attention, the TA was 45 needs to be support. If it holds as support, then we got a full rotation to 48. If it loses it, you got a full rotation back to value area low. Skepper says, I think I will long golden pocket. If it fails, I will long the sweep of that wick. Good stuff. Good stuff. And here's the thing, Skeps, like most of us, if we've been in the game long enough, this is not the first time it had a failed auction and it rotated all the way to the value area low range. So for me, I've already done that trade and I know, and I've done it hundreds of times. And so I know what the outcome is going to be. When you do take it, whether it works or not, you should remember as much as you can about the open interest, the CVD, confluence with S&P. Remember, the profit, the real profit is not the economic profit. It's being able to remember the price action for next time. Alrighty, so, this shouldn't be like the first time that you're playing a failed auction value area low tap with the golden pocket retest. So whatever happens, just make sure you can remember it for next time too. Alrighty, if you can't remember what happened next time, you're going to be trading that strategy for the first time every time. Sanja says, Kimba, if you were awake, would you take that 45.6 Kimba box short or wait for the sweep? Hard to say. I would want to think to myself that I would have taken it, but most likely I would have just started like trying to get filled right when we broke that. So, I might have even market smashed when it lost that. So what I would do if I were you, Sanja, is remember this and remember the next 5, 6, 7, 8 failed auctions you're going to see. And you should be able to tell, is it safe to market smash right there? Is it safe to market smash right there? And then just remember for next time. And after you see, a dozen, a couple dozen, maybe a couple hundred failed auctions, you're going to have your own subconscious bias. The reason why you might have had hesitation is because you don't have a big enough sample size. But if you remember, I was talking about how there might be like a bearish retest. And that would be the one that I would take. Obviously, that didn't happen, and it doesn't have to do a bearish retest. So it's almost like if you market smashed right there, right, then you kind of can put like your stop loss right there just in case. And you're adding on the bearish retest if it happens. So the most important thing, Sanja, is not what I would have done, but remembering what happened here so you can decide what you want to do next time yourself. Okay, so, if this is failed auction number 1 for you, take a look. Go into like the smaller time frames. Is it safe to market smash at these levels? And how many times do you actually get a bearish retest? And based off of that, you can decide next time on how you want to play it. I would want to think to myself, especially since I don't know how many goddamn times we drew the failed auction probability. But for me, it would have been a higher probability for that sweep. So maybe I would have missed that. But you can always enter a little bit right when that level is lost or right when that level is lost. Sounds good? So, yes, pay attention to that. Watch failed auctions dozens and hundreds of times, and you're going to be able to kind of figure out, how do I want to play it if I don't get that one? Okay, because a failed auction is only confirmed when you start to get candle closes below that level. Sound good? That's the way that I would probably try to learn from this. Ecto says, we tried to long 43.6 to form a bearish retest and got smoked by it. That's the wrong trade. Yeah, that's like an inverse. It's like backwards. Yeah, you would never long on a failed auction hoping for a bearish retest. That is a negative ROI strategy. Now you know. But if you really think about it and use common sense, you're not guaranteed a bearish retest. Um, so yeah, it wouldn't make sense to long hoping for something that doesn't even need to happen when something bearish just happened in front of you. So the only thing that you can do is you would just have to wait, and you would maybe add on a bearish retest. That's about it. You don't want to get stopped out on the bearish retest, and that's the only thing. And you definitely don't want to long hoping for a bearish retest. Roger that. So remember that. That's just yeah, that's just kind of like common sense. Tafisa says easy to see now was not obvious. It was actually, Tafisa. Make sure you get caught up on the highlights. I don't know how many times we talked about failed auction, failed auction, failed auction. So, and I can see that about 80 of you guys have a short from here on MEXC anyways. So, yeah, it was actually pretty obvious, Tafisa. As you mentioned, this dump took place in an hour and a half, so having candle close at lower time frames can also serve as confluence of failed auction. Sure, yeah, but ultimately you have to see failed auctions hundreds of times, and you have to have your own bias. You can't like generalize things like that. Yeah. So if this is if your sample size of a failed auction is less than 10 or 20, or maybe your memory is just ass and you can't remember what happened before, then you need to start remembering and doing whatever it is you need to do to start remembering these things. The most juiciest profitable thing that the market can give you is historical patterns and what it's done over and over and over again. So watching this and not being able to remember everything there is about this move and this failed auction next time is a bigger L than getting round tripped. Does that make sense? Green Finger says Coiner said exactly that in Discord earlier, not to close the short, but add on bearish retest. Yeah, that's just basic TA. Yeah, that's just basic TA. You definitely, if you're in a short and you got super greedy and was like, oh, I'm going to close it here and I'm going to wait for that, that's not right. You just need to go back and read like basic TA, because that would be wrong. You certainly don't want to, you're never promised anything. So the thing about the bearish retest is you don't want to get stopped out on the bearish retest. That's really all it is. Jimmy says, I do not know what the fuck going on. That's okay, Jimmy. We'll take it level by level. Do you have any questions, Jimmy? Do you have TPO levels? Do you have your ADIS pulled up? Everybody has ADIS pulled up right now, correct? Everybody should be able to tell me on the 30-minute time frame what the value area low and what the value area high is. Everybody has that, right? Does everybody understand that we're approaching value area low on TPO? Everybody has TPO levels identified, volume levels identified. So once that level gets tapped in a little bit here, we're going to look at the data, right? Does it look bullish? Does it look bearish? Or is it inconclusive? So if it's inconclusive, then there's no edge, right? If we can't spot like a hidden bear div, hidden bull div, regular div, open interest getting squeezed out, if there's no edge, then there's no reason to take it. So I meant to say I saw you drawing the lines, but which for real is the mostly you're interested in? Well, you've got a value area low coming up. Wouldn't that be the first TPO level of interest? Some of your brothers and sisters were asking things like, is this golden pocket worth taking? Is this Kimba box worth taking? So some people are already thinking about potentially like wanting to long. I was saying how I'm not going to long that because it's inconclusive for me. Yeah, but you've got value area low and golden pocket confluence coming up. Another level of interest, Motas, is that a good low or is that weak and poor? Alrighty, so you can start to kind of understand, is that unfinished? Okay, if that's unfinished, then if you do start to get a rise, some people were asking, should I take a short here, Motas? So if that is unfinished, then you would have more confluence on the short. Okay, some people have identified that single print. Some people have identified that single print. Some people have done this and they have confluence with fibs. Okay, do you remember when Amalise was asking about the 886? Yeah, so let's start with not so much about what am I interested in or what am I doing. Let's just start with the basics and let's identify things that are not arguable. Okay, is that a poor low? Is that a weak low? You tell me. That's not arguable. Okay, where are the single prints? That's not arguable. Okay, where's the TPO, value area low, value area high, volume, value area low, value area high? And then when it gets to those levels, let's take a look. Is it bullish or bearish? That's all it is. For me, I would prefer that we get outside of retail arena. So whether it's a short here, short there, long down here on CME gap fill, I need to gain some sort of edge. I don't really want to get into a position in the middle of retail arena. So by definition, my levels of interest are outside of retail arena. Okay. And I haven't even begun to really nerd out on CME TPO levels. Okay, so not only would you want to be able to identify weak highs, poor lows on derivatives, but you got to do the same shit. You got to do all of what we just talked about on CME and Coinbase. Okay, and you also know that in an hour we have FOMC minutes coming out. So if you kind of put all that together without even me saying it, okay, I'm probably just waiting to see what the FOMC minutes reaction is going to be. And if I get some sort of edge and we get to a level of interest, then I'll take a stab. But you're probably not going to see me take a position inside retail arena. So that's the plan. All right. You said, sure, this area is not for trading. I got you. For me, because there's no edge. Okay. But if we get to a level of interest, if we get to a single print and while we rise up, I already talked about this. If there's a bearish edge right here, and if it's obvious, like if there's a hidden bear div, okay, on CVD and it's big, and you also squeeze like 80 million in open interest, okay, then that might be enough to possibly take a short. All right, but there's no edge for me. I mean, you tell me, do you see a hidden bear div or a hidden bull div? Do you see anything data-wise that says, hey, man, we should maybe long here or short here? I don't see anything. So therefore, there's no, I have to wait and let a little bit more data come in. Mr. Lucas is on Addis. I have value area low 45270. What time frame is that? Yeah, 45270 is the value area low. Yeah. So let's watch the reaction. Rika says that was crystal clear that the price was going to fall. All that liquidity below 44, the exchanges grab all of it. Yeah, I wouldn't like it. It's crystal clear in that it's what failed auctions usually do, right? So if this was like the first time seeing it, like this is what a failed auction is. Price fucks around, makes a range. Okay. A failed auction is it fails to get outside of the range and then it tucks right back in. When that happens, you have we've played this many times. It's called a full rotation. That's what we also called it last night. So you have a high probability you rotate to the value area high in this case. Okay. If you try to break out and you get back in, you have a high probability you're going to test the value area low. That's the definition of a failed auction. You set a range, you try to get out, you can't, you rotate back to the other side. That's just what a failed auction is. That's why we drew the box yesterday. And we said, if you lose this, you're going to rotate back to the year. I can't be like, oh, that's normal. That was quick and fast. The timing and the velocity and the violence in which it rotated, we can't predict that. But that's just what a failed auction is. Yeah, so next time when there's a failed auction, identify the value area low. You're going to have a high probability you're going to go test it. Next time, it might not do it in an hour and a half. It might fucking take 4 days. You know? So remember, alrighty? But this is literally the definition of a failed auction. You set the range, you try to break out, you go back into the range, you rotate to the other side of the range. Kazaki says, look at all that yellow above. For high block, here's the 12-hour high block. In fact, that's been there the whole time. So basically, these shorts, that's where their liquidity is. 44.3. All right. And then here's the 7-day, which starts to show a little bit more. But you can make sure that you're looking at the Z value. Don't get carried away with like, oh, it's yellow, oh, it's green. You got to pay attention to the Z value. See that Z value? Now watch the 1 month. The Z value for the 1 month below 40 is way more than anything that's above. You see the Z value, yes? So, yeah, just make sure you keep everything in mind. Crystal Guild Wars, I'll stick to my idea with trying to get filled around 42.2. 42.2. You want this, huh? Well, yeah. $42.2. You want the .75. It has to be a wick because the body candle closes need to be making this structure. So if you get a 5-minute body candle close below this, that's no bueno. So your best case scenario, if you want that, would be to right? So if you are going to wait right there, the good news is if it doesn't do a quick little snapback, the long is probably no bueno because now you're starting to change structure. Right, Crystal? So you can get the wicks, but the candle body closes need to maintain this structure. So any 5-minute body candle close below that level would start to be a little Alrighty. Ideally, you don't even go back down there. You go because this was the TPO value area low bullish retest theoretically. So yeah, and like if you get like a sweep structure and it closes back below, you probably do not want to long that. So just all to kind of keep in mind, but let's see what happens, man. Cause this would be like the pivot point that you would be looking for. So losing this after hitting that would not be good. The last level that you could bounce from to maintain bullishness would be the 0.5. Let's see here. But if it happens right now during McCulley, when you can just throw out basic TA and probabilities out the window, that might be a good time to get a little. Lon says, what about sweeping poor highs and taking that 786 short 43.2? Yeah. You probably asked that before I talked about it. Yeah. 100% Lon. That could be a short sweep. But you have there's contradictions going all over the place, right? So you would, from a mathematical perspective, you would get that, right? And we've seen like a sweep structure candidate right in front, and all it did was bink, bink, bink. So not only would the structure be pretty important, you theoretically need to lose that or turn that into resistance, right, Lon? So that's a great question. We talked about it before I even read your question, and you had asked before I started reading your question. So that's a good question. Structure is good, but you really want to lose 618, right? And turn it into bearish, turn that into resistance, Lon? Yeah, I don't know if I want to short up there again. It's a little bit tricky. Were you here when I was talking about the easier trade for me would be to long something down here than to try and short this? Because it already failed auctioned. So, and it already hit the target. And the reaction is Gucci. So the easier trade for me would be to long something down here, sweep that. If it wants the CME gap fill, fine. I don't really care about the CME gap fill per se. We've seen fills where it's it does that and it doesn't fill the whole thing. So, yeah, I don't want to, I bet there's a lot of people that would be thinking if it does go back up there, I want to short it. And I think that might, because the short already happened. The failed auction already happened. It rotated to the other side of the range. It already did it. And on top of that, it had an incredible bullish reaction to it. So yeah, spectral. Identifying weakness. Weak, 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 weak. Okay? So you might be sitting there thinking, well, this fucker could get swept. Okay? You also have confluence with the 7.5. Okay? So what would be really funny, since all of these people that shorted here, shorted here, shorted here, shorted here, they're going to get stopped out. So that stop out would be indicated by open interest going down. Have you ever been in a position and they fucking papink you, stop you out, and then they go? That's exactly what we'd be looking for. You ever been in a position, they papink you, they stop you out, and then they resume? And you're sitting there thinking, fuck, man, manipulation, man, they fucking targeted me, man. All right, so that could be a setup, for example. I wouldn't actually, you could anticipate that. You got to think that's also not that great too. But that's how you start building, okay? And then based off of Fibonacci experience, you know that the real pivot comes from this. Okay? So just because you get a structure, you're really not popping bottles until you turn that into resistance. Alrighty. So it's just taking into consideration, being able to identify certain levels. You have confluence with fib. If you get the open interest squeezing, that means all these short entries got stopped out, right? Bink, open interest going down, stopped out, stopped out, stopped out, stopped out, stopped out. So the only way you would actually be able to confirm that is with structure. So if you have this level identified, you know that whether it's a 15-minute or 30-minute, you would have to have a body candle close below that. The first one, it will form it. The second one that stays below confirms it. And that's just structure. You could still, like I said, we've seen this before, bink, bink, and this is the pivot point. So you're probably not celebrating anything as a bear until you actually turn that into resistance and you can start breaking local lows. So step one, structure, check. Confirmation on the second candle close, check. Does the open interest, did that go down indicating that this was a squeeze? Check. If the open interest, as you do this, and open interest is going up, that means people are opening longs. You probably don't want to fade that. So even if it does pull back, you might be thinking to yourself, oh shit, that might be the bullish retest and I might be able to long it. See how it changes based off of the data that you're seeing? That's why you don't want to blindly put limits in, and you want to give yourself the best chance of success, and you want to take a look at what it's doing when it gets there. There we go. All right. No, we did not. We are inside the day. Roger that. We are inside the day. So daily open is right here. PDEQ is right here. PDPOC. You lose point of control, it's going to rotate to value area low. You lose that, or you do a bearish retest on it, you're going to probably go grab that CME. Okay, you have opened inside the day. So you do not have a full rotation play. Okay. Losing point of control, your probability of testing the previous day value area low at 41,000 becomes real. In fact, we kind of talked about that, right? The scenario where you don't make a lower low, right? You might get another ring. So we talked about there is a chance it's going to front run all the CME gappers. Okay. But we're all looking at the same shit. So previous day value area high is at 44 thou. PDEQ, which is right on it, is at 42.3. But the stronger level is that PDPOC. You lose that previous day point of control, the math would state that you have a higher chance of rotating back to the previous day value area low. That should be support, theoretically. Okay? So you lose that, you do some sort of like bearish retest on that, then you're going to be looking for much, much lower. So like the easiest setup is try to hold the point of control, rotate and make higher highs. Okay? But you lose that, then you're going to probably have to look for that. Okay? Does it have to come all the way back to PDPOC? No, you could rotate to the value area high first. Ladies and gentlemen, so no real easy setup, unfortunately. What a day, what a week, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get after it. Oh, let's get a good back day in today. Just Jex says, nice West Coaster. Look forward to checking your streams out. I'm a new follower. Hey, love it, Just Jex. Exclamation welcome for Just Jex. I'll be on again tomorrow, bright and early, Just Jex. So I hope I see you tomorrow. Kobo says, cheers, my dude. Hey, let's go, Kobo. Love you, brother. Have a great night. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what it is. Sato always showing up too early. Ladies and gentlemen, longers, I'm rooting for you. Shorters, I'm rooting for you. All right, Bulls, Bears, we're all Lions. You guys are the fucking best. What a crazy week, man. Not over yet. Alrighty, I will see you guys tomorrow. Stay safe. Sato, tell them what happens if they don't use stop loss. Tell them what happens if they don't use stop loss. He said he's gonna smack the shit out of you. All right, y'all, have a great night. Peace, everybody. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. You just said.